Hi, everyone. I'm Ronit on the East Coast,
And I'm Whiskey on the West Coast. And we are
and we are
hopelessly
hopelessly unedited.
unedited.
So we're making
At
an
some
effort to
point,
try to
we'll say it
synchronize
together.
on three or after
Exactly.
three.
At some point, we'll get it synchronized, like you said. We
Exactly.
don't know. We don't know how to
Yeah,
do
at
this
some
shit,
point.
guys. We don't know how to do this shit. We're doing this for your entertainment, not ours. This shit is hard.
You know what? Maybe this summer, when I go stay with you, we'll record it at your house together in person so that we could do the synchronization better.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
Let's give it a
um,
shot.
yeah. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention is when we talked about the Chinese New Year superstitions, I have some listeners gave some feedback on more superstitions. Apparently, yeah, I know, right? Apparently, you're not supposed to give umbrella or pear to a married couple because the pronunciation of these two words it's very similar to separate or leaving. So that's not a good omen for a married
Yeah,
couple.
that doesn't sound too good, does it?
No, no. But some maybe it's better for them. So if you feel like your friends are not doing well in their marriage, you want to give them a push and help them out, you know what to give them.
So there's a book, some shoes, a pear, and an umbrella. Good
Right.
luck.
Yes.
If you don't like
Anyways,
somebody, you can also add a little voodoo doll, to you can. But these would be the 4 gifts you give people at the very beginning of the year.
you can hang the voodoo doll on the umbrella handle.
Or you can keep the voodoo doll so you can still poke at it. Because there's got to be some
Oh,
satisfaction out of like poking a thing in a doll. I don't have a doll.
you know what? For some reason, I all of a sudden have this picture in my head. When I was little, I made a voodoo doll and I was poking it with my mom's sewing needles. Maybe
I
I made it up.
knew it. I knew
I
it.
I could be making it up. I don't know.
You could be
So,
making it up. It's very likely that it's
my
true,
head is kind of
or
crazy.
that you're making it up.
So,
50-50.
pretty much. So last time you gave this amazing list of French literature stories, and I want to thank you, Kate, because I knew nothing about French literature. After not yesterday, after the last taping, I actually went to the library and
Oh, look at
borrowed
that.
a collector edition. I don't know why they have it in the library. I feel kind of bad. I've been trying to be really careful because it says it's a collector's edition. The Tale of Guy de Maupassant. And
Very nice. Listen to you.
it's amazing.
Maupassant.
God, I
So did you
ruined
like
myself.
it? How,
It's
how
really
far
good.
are
I'm
you?
not done, but like some of the stories I was like reading about, I was like, oh my God. I read the story that you mentioned about the necklace. So I was like, this is just kind of crazy. But I can see, people at that time would go through such length to replace a necklace rather than just not take responsibility. It's crazy to me now. Somehow people find their way out. Maybe people here nowadays would just get like 20 credit cards and get it rather than, but I don't know. So
I don't think
anyway,
I think that people would say, sorry, I lost your whatever.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, and I think there could be a blowout, but I don't see this culturally. I mean, there might be some people that would replace something,
Yeah.
but something they think to be so expensive, I think they'd be like, I'm sorry, because they would know that they can't pay it back because nobody can pay anything back because it's so expensive to live here.
So everyone, good stuff. Go to the library. It doesn't even cost you anything. go to the library and get it. And if you didn't get to finish listening the last episode, I put a list of the books that Kate talked about in the description and the caption, so you can at least get the list and put it on your reading list. They're great books. Anywho, so today we're going to talk about my book. And yeah, there's a dog there. We're going to talk about my book. And unlike Kate, I'm not as well read. I only have one book. I only have one book that I
She
remember.
read
I
it
mean, I
200
read.
times.
I mean, I do read, but the thing is that I just have, none of the books I read, I would think about it as like, oh my gosh, this shapes me as a person, or it just have such a big impact in my life. I only have this one book, and it came pretty late in my life, and I think I was in my 40s. And there are a couple of stories related to it. So this book is called Dancing with Life by Philip Murphy. I hope I didn't butcher his name. It's a Buddhism book.
Life or light?
Life, Dancing with Life. The funny thing was I grew up Anglican, in Hong Kong, went to Anglican school and everything. So it's always, my background is Christianity. And when I was in Malaysia, visiting my relatives, Kate, I told you about, some of the paranormal experience I have. So after I had another of the ghost encounter in Malaysia, my aunt and uncle actually took me to Ipoh, north of Malaysia, to a Buddhist temple, and asked a monk to give me a blessing. And the monk was asking me, it's like, so are you Buddhist? I was like, no. And it's like, you should be a Buddhist. I said, no. I was freaking out because, like, Christian, there's no way you don't, worship false idol or whatever. That's when I didn't know that, they don't worship anybody, Buddhism, or anything. Sorry. Kate and I were talking about the TH before the taping. So anyway, and he said to me, oh, no. You're Chinese. You worship the Christian God. You'll never go to heaven, no matter how good you are, because you're Chinese. It's going to be like you'll be ascending, and then in the middle, you're just going to fall. And I was like, what? And he said I should be Buddhist, and I didn't know. So when I was in my 40s, a very good friend was taking a meditation. Oh, she signed up for a meditation class and wonder if I wanted to do it. I said sure. And then with the class, they also studied this book, Dancing with Life, and this book completely changed my outlook in life and interpersonal relationship and things like that.
Wow.
And it's kind of crazy. So Buddhism is very complicated, but this book has a lot of the basics, and I felt like I just I don't have to worship anybody. I don't have to think of any guilt. I just kind of, live my life with the Four Noble Truths, basically. Pretty simple, right? So this is how this book changed my life. I was in not a super good place in my life at that time, and after I studied this book, started meditation, that's when I, shortly after, I met my lovely husband, and my life completely changed. So
this was like a fundamentally important book for you.
it is changed my life. I told everyone this book changed
So
my
how
life.
did it change your life? Like, give us like one example of something that it changed your it changed your life.
So Christianity is very black and white, right? You're either right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
And Buddhism doesn't really, this book anyway, you are dancing with life. The outcome of it, it's not really that important. It's that experience when you're experiencing it, that's where your focus should be. So it comes back to the if you focus so much on the outcome, or if you're right or if you're wrong, you're actually creating your own suffering. So that applies to work. That applies to my chaotic, crazy love life at the time, right? um, and then after that, I was just so chill that with that understanding. So that if you don't have suffering, if you look at suffering differently, you achieve some freedom, basically, right? So the Four Noble Truth is suffering. It's there. It's always interwoven in the moments of your life. You cannot escape it. It's there. And
You're talking about, when you say suffering, you're not talking about the physical suffering. You're talking about like the
any,
emotional toll
correct,
that
correct.
anything takes on you. So like
Yeah,
you have to pay taxes, that's suffering. You had an argument with your husband, that's suffering. Pinch your finger in the door, that's not suffering. It's a different kind of suffering. Or is it the same?
correct. Any kind of suffering. Even like if you hit like I nipped my finger with a knife cooking and it hurt so bad, that's suffering too, right? But do I focus on the pain or other things? So that's the first suffering. The second one is the reason of your suffering is second thing is clinging to desired objects and a state of being. So if I have this, the necklace, I lost a beautiful necklace. If I don't let it go, I will be suffering. I will keep thinking, oh, that woman, I loaned her the necklace and she lost it. And I would, started have so much emotion. Not only the loss of the necklace, I might feel resentment to the woman, but the necklace is already lost. It doesn't matter what I feel. It's lost. So we kind of create, because we're so having attachments to objects or anything. And then the third thing is you can release your suffering by letting go of clinging to these desires. And that really helped me with asshole ex-boyfriends, right? Um, and I don't know about you, but like I found myself finding excuses for really bad guys. I kind of idealize it because it went back to the right and wrong thing. I don't want him to be wrong because everybody tells me this guy is a jerk and I still dated him, right? I didn't want to be wrong. So I kind of cling on those things before. And the last one is there is actually in the book that talks about there are eightfold path to release yourself from suffering to freedom. So, I mean, you have to read the book. I'm not going to talk about all that. But, one thing is I didn't need to always go back and revisit the book on the technique per se, right? I just need to remember not to have too much attachment. Then I feel a lot freer, you know?
Yeah.
So one thing that interpersonally, I have friends that had, grown apart, and some of them is like really strangely grown apart. And rather than thinking, hey, did I do something or did she do something or, or did he do something that we grown apart? I was like, well, you know what? It's grown apart. They're gone. And I hope for the best for them. So, it really helps me with that.
Yeah. It's I seem to remember this particular boyfriend came crawling back to you after a while. You know, it's so funny. You reject those folks and then they're like, "Oh, hey, I like you." You know, and they're big jerks.
Yeah.
But so a lot what you've read, what you talked about with this book is like what it changed for you is your outlook on how to take certain emotions. Like if something generated some anger before, it sort of prevents you. So when you went now in your life, do you have to think about, do you have to go like, I mean, like, something happens and you're like, I am so pissed off. Do you have to stop and say like, no, I'm not pissed off. This book tells me I'm not pissed off. Or does it just come naturally now? Do you go like, oh, I'm not even pissed off?
Because I'm not enlightened like Buddha. I'm sure for him it's kind of comes really natural. I mean, there are moments that I would think, oh, this is just so shitty. It sucks. And I have to, all of a sudden I would be like, oh, this is not a good feeling. Why do I have this good feeling? I think what gave me is that there are things that I have to go back and think about the book, but one thing that it became kind of my instinct is, oh, I feel bad. Why do I feel bad? And then it kind of walks me back to, oh, you know what? I shouldn't have attachment with this situation or this person. And then for some that is like really catastrophic that I would have to think back, try to, get it from my archive and figure out, oh, what did the book say? you know? So it just all depends. And that's why when I picked up this book, the first story, I don't know if you remember one of the tale. The first one is about a string.
So,
About the
so tell us about the tale, but don't tell us the end in case somebody wants to,
oh well
read
well
it.
basically, well, I kind of need to tell it because this story is the classic case of having too much attachment and ego, because ego is an enemy that causes suffering. The string. I don't know what the French is. I'm reading the English translation. Mm, so it's called a string. So it was this old, back then in France, all these vendors, they would go to the market to sell their stuff. I mean, people still do now. And there's this old guy, this merchant, he's old, and I forgot what he sold, what he was selling. But he was like, his back hurt and he was like pulling his cart. And all of a sudden he noticed, he's very frugal. He noticed there's a piece of leather string on the ground and it was muddy. But he decided to pick it up and clean it up because he thinks that, I may have use of it at some point. So it was like cleaning it up, rolling them, and then all of a sudden he looked up. There was an other vendor that, they kind of have beef, some kind of beef before, and he kind of looked at him. So he was a little embarrassed because he didn't want that guy to say, oh, this old guy, this guy just like bent down and just pick a piece of trash or whatever. So he like rolled it up and put it in his pocket and then just pretend looking for other things so that, and then he got up and then they went to the market and stuff. And then afterwards, I guess they went to a tavern or somewhere that, you can drink and stuff. And then all of a sudden the ministry, the messenger came in and said, oh, the minister has lost his like accounting book or some kind of book that has has a lot of documents and has like, a large sum of money. I forgot exactly how much cash in there. So whoever that picks it up, you'll get a reward for 20 francs or something like that. And then everybody was talking about it. It was like, oh, is he going to get it back? Are people going to be, honest enough to do that? So and then as he was leaving, all of a sudden somebody from the ministry come in and said, hey, we need to talk to you. And he said, oh, sure. So he went and talked to them. And then he said, well, somebody saw you picked up that book. And then he's like, no, there's no such thing. Who told you? And of course, it's his rival that saw him picked up the string. He reported him saying that he picked up that book. of record with the money. And he said, no, here, I just picked up the string. And they're like, why would you pick up a string on the ground? He said, no, honest to God. And then he pulled his pockets out and he volunteers to search my stuff. And they searched, they found nothing. But the other, said, well, but you were reported, we'll keep an eye on you. And then he went and confronted that guy, the guy that reported him. And he was like, oh, come on, you took it. And then he laughed at him and said, oh, come on, you did. And then he went around to everybody and told everybody that, no, I didn't do it. And everybody laughed at him. And the next day they were in the market and this one other guy came forward and said, oh, I picked up, and returned the book. And it's like, oh, I picked it up because I can't read. I saw a document and I returned it. And he got the award. So this old guy was really happy and was like, oh my gosh. And went around, told everybody that, see, they caught the guy. And then people just start laughing and say, oh, come on, let it be. But all he wanted was people to basically say, oh, it's not you. You're not a thief. So he went around everywhere to tell that tale, and nobody took him seriously. And because of that, he started to get sick, and then he died. And see, that is how, you can cling on to something, just like the Dancing with Life, and it could cost your life. It's all about his ego. So when I read the first story, I was like, oh my gosh, it's about this book. How poorly the outcome could be. So, what do you think?
I think it's great if you can reprogram your brain to think that way. If you can reprogram your emotions to be, like controlled, right? It's hard to control your emotions, if you're not constantly doing it. So, like, if you're not constantly checking yourself, like, if you want to be relaxed, you can't control your emotions. If you want to be yourself, you can't control your emotions. So, doing something like that it's a little bit odd, but changing how you feel about something, long term, if you stop to think about it, because I think our emotions and the way we think, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think, like, if something happens in life and you're going to be pissed off, let's just say, because I used that earlier, you're going to be angry about it. I think you're just going to be angry about it at first. It's just going to be like this. Now, what do you do after that moment? Do you have time to stop and think like you're doing? Or do you just kind of have to let it go? Because some people, they get mad, they blow up, they yell, they scream, they whatever, they punch a bag, or like me. And then it takes them a while, to cool down. And there are some people like you who can, like, knowingly go through an emotion and go like, oh, well, I'm gonna, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Is that right? That's hard to do, what you're doing. I would tend to be the first kind.
You know what? It's not like I never lost it. I've lost it. And you just need to let yourself also know that it's okay to lose it, because it's also that moment, right? Something happened in that moment. And once it's done, I think it's more important that once it's done, you don't linger and thought, oh my gosh, I acted so stupid. Or it's like, why did I yell? Why did I hit him? It's done. Whatever. I think that's more important than trying to control your emotion.
Yeah. That's kind of a good tool to just, in a way, there's a lot of people who hang on to this baggage. Like, they have lost it. They got really upset about something. And then they feel guilty forever. Like, there's a lot of guilt in society, And I think if you can get rid of that guilt somehow, that might be like a really good thing to get out of this book in one way. For me, anyway. Like, get rid of the guilt.
And honestly, if you are so control, I think it's it's not a good thing. Not only that, I just think it's bad for your, it's like a volcano. You have to let it out sometimes, right? And when it's so controlled, it's boring. Perfection is not a good thing. You gotta get a little crazy sometimes, I think. I mean, that's part of life, right? And I think that's also part of that book is like you dance with life. Life come at you, just need to dance with it, whatever the action is. But this book just affected me a lot, in a good way. Kind of raised me when I to, needed something to understand myself. Of course, I also went to shrinks, and that helps too, you know. But this is my book. When people ask me one book, this is my book. I also have another book that I find interesting, but it doesn't really shape my life. It's called The Ghost Map. It talks about the cholera outbreak in London. It's really interesting, kind of crazy because I think the father of anesthesiologist, what is his name? I can't believe I can't remember it now, but he was one of the doctors at that time trying to figure out why everybody was sick. But I think the most intriguing thing for me was back then how he tested how much anesthetic you should give somebody and stuff like that. He would be like, okay, I'm I don't know, 160 pounds and I give this many milligram and now the clock is at 12, and he inject himself and then he'll wake up and I was like, oh, I was out for 2 hours. Like that's how scientists did things back then. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, that is a very interesting book, The Ghost Map. That's another book that I recommend to other people as well. But so Dancing with Life is my book. Another book that I always remember is The Ghost Map. So yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to have to give this one, a Dancing with Life, a try.
It could be a little
it.
boring. It's a slow read. You almost want to just read a chapter and kind of sit on it.
Not literally, because that's
it.
uncomfortable to sit on a book.
Yeah. So anyway, so I am very excited to read the book, this book, and I will give a book report to you when I'm all done. I'm still in the process. I'll pick a few that I like, and maybe I have some questions for you, because sometimes some of the stories that it just kind of describe the life at that time. So that's kind of interesting. You might have more insight. What I really wanted to understand is it some stuff that they were doing back then is still people nowadays in France are still doing it? So those are the kind of questions that I want to know. But anyway, so yeah, so we're about at time, and I know. So. Yeah, we're about at time, and I hope you guys read the books recommended by Kate, and if you have time, you wanted some more, something that it's a little bit more philosophical, or if you're a Chinese like me, you're a Christian, you're wondering if you're going to go to heaven, you might want to try Dancing with Life. Anyway, so I'm Ronit on the East Coast.
And I'm with Kate on the West Coast. Be seeing you.
Because seeing you, we are
hopelessly
unedited. We are so close.
We're so close.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.